Welcome to Ellen Ruth Soap. I'm Ellen, and today we're not making soap, we are going to make body butter. Rich, luxurious, full butter, body butter. I mean, deep moisture is what we're talking about today. And I have a secret ingredient that I have not worked with before, but I've heard it recommended over and over again, and I'm excited to use it. It's isopropyl myristate. Isopropyl myristate. I think I'm saying that right. This is a light ester, and it brings a lightness to a body butter that can be heavy. It helps with a fast absorbing. It helps it not to feel so heavy and so greasy feeling. That's one of the complaints I get about body butters. Even when I add like an arrowroot powder or a tapioca starch in there to help cut the greasy feel, it's a butter. It's all 100% oil and butters. So when you're using it, don't expect it to absorb like an emulsified lotion. That's a different animal altogether. No pun intended, but they're two different things. So when you're making a body butter, even with the ester in there, I think it's still a body butter, which if you're grabbing that over a lotion, you're wanting some really deep moisture, which I love. It's great on heels, elbows, chapped hands. Put it all over your face for a treatment. I mean, you can slather yourself in a good body butter. So that's what we're doing today. I will be sharing the full recipe down below in the description box. It's very similar to my previous body butters, except I'm going to be using my new secret ingredient. Let me read some of the highlights of this ester to you. It acts as a lightweight emollient. It helps make body butters feel less greasy and absorb more quickly into the skin. It reduces the heavy feel of rich butters. Its function creates a lighter, faster absorbing texture. Benefit is it counteracts the greasy feel of some butters, makes a silky smooth application. And the percentage, so it's a small amount. This is recommending 2 to 4% of your formulation in this ester. So I think I'll probably go for the maybe 2 or 3%. I don't want to go the max, so maybe let's hit 3%. How about we'll go in the middle and see how it makes a body butter feel. I'm excited to try this. I think it's going to be awesome. So let me get everything pulled together, get my work surface sanitized, and get everything prepped and ready to go. And let's come back and make some really luxurious body butter. All right, we are back. I've got all of my equipment out here and ready to go. Here are all the butters and oils I'm going to be using, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. But first, some groundwork. I'm going to be measuring everything into my glass beaker here because I have my little single burner hot plate with a saucepan of water, a water bath off to the side here that I'm going to be melting it in, and glass works well. And then I'm going to be pouring it all into my big plastic container so that I can come in with my hand beater and whip this. I want to whip this butter up nice and fluffy. I just feel like it just has a very satisfying feel to apply it when it's whipped up light. You don't have to pour it or whip it up. You can pour it straight into your jars and just have it be a thick butter type consistency, but I like the whip, so that's what this big container is for later. All right, so I'm going to turn my little hot plate on here and get it nice and hot and ready to go to melt down our wonderful butters. So let's talk about the ingredients today. All right, let's get into the ingredients here. It's not very complicated. We just want to get things going. I'm going to tear my scale out. I've already pre-measured these, but I'll just double check it on my scale. Never a bad thing to double check. Tear that out. All right, first ingredient going in my little beaker here is Kokum Butter, which I am using. This one from Natural Bulk Supplies, Kokum. I'm so tempted to say cocoa butter, which we are using, but this is a very wonderful butter. I love it. I've used it a few times in a body butter, and I'm crazy about it. Here it is, and I need 2 ounces or 57 grams of cocoa butter, or Kokum. My goodness, I'm going to just probably mess that up, so forgive me ahead of time, please. Kokum butter, not the same as cocoa butter. So 57 grams, and this recipe is for an 8-ounce total is what I'm making. So got that, 57, measured out perfectly. Tear that out. And our next ingredient, we are going to come in with mango butter. And I love mango butter. It's wonderful. If you have mango allergies, you can use a different butter. That's the thing. This butter blend You could use any combination of any butters that you love. Shea butter, kupawasu butter, you know, fill in the blank. You make it with the ones you love. So mango butter, I need 1.25 ounces or 35 grams of mango. Got that in there. And the last butter going in here is cocoa butter. And I need 0.75 ounces or 21 grams of cocoa butter. I do like to add cocoa butters to my body butters because it is such a hard butter. So when you whip it up, it really adds some body to the whip and helps it keep a nice stiff peak because of the hardness of this. But again, if you don't like cocoa butter, you can replace it with another butter. So let's get 21 grams in here. Right on the nose. All right, that is it for the butters. Now, the other ingredients going in, I have coconut oil. I do like coconut oil in my body butters. If you have a coconut oil allergy, okay, here's the kind I'm using. This is from Costco. It's just a nice cold pressed coconut oil. If you're allergic to coconut oil, Babasu oil is a great replacement. So people that have coconut allergies have really good luck with this. So that's an option for you. But I like coconut oil has it melts pretty quickly with skin contact. So I just think it brings sort of a absorbent factor to the body butter. I like it in there. And we need 2 ounces or 57 grams of coconut oil. All right, and last but not least for our ingredients to the base of this is my liquid oil portion. And again, this brings a lightness to your body butter, so it's not 100% butters. You can make 100% whipped shea butter, absolutely glorious, wonderful. But I like what the liquid oils bring to the table. Again, it makes it melt a little quicker on contact with your skin. I think it keeps it from getting too firm in the jar. I just like what it brings to the table. You could use any liquid oils of your choice, almond oil, walnut oil, olive oil, you fill in the blank. Today, I am using a combination of rosehip oil, and this is from Natural Bulk Supplies, and jojoba oil. And this one's from Soaper's Choice. I think the rosehip oil has some glorious skin properties. I love it. And the jojoba oil is actually a wax. It's very light feeling, and it will bring some more lightness to this body butter formulation. And together you need 2 ounces total or 57 grams total of liquid oils. Again, the oils of your choice. I am going to go ahead and add these in here right now before we melt. You can melt your hard butters first and then add your liquid, but we want this all melted together and incorporated really well. So I'm going to go ahead and just add it now. My little hot plate, and take my little glorious beaker full of goodness and set it in here and let it melt. That's all we're waiting for, is all of it melting. I'm not going to take the temperature. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that it's all melted. That's what you're looking for, more than a number. And if you don't want to set your glass right on the bottom, you could fold up a washcloth and put it in here for a little padding. Or I've seen people take a silicone hot mat, a hot pad, and put it in there. So you don't have to set your jar on the bottom if that bothers you at all. But here it is. We'll be back when that's melted for our next step. All right, we have a full melt going on here, so now I've got to pull this off, and just be careful when you're working with hot items. All right, now it is time for the last 2 ingredients. I am going to be using a fragrance oil today because this is for me and my family, and I love it. Essential oils would be wonderful in here, or leave it unscented. I can smell a little bit of the natural cocoa butter in there, which I love. I don't buy deodorized cocoa butter. I love the scent of natural cocoa butter. So unscented is wonderful, but I'm gonna be adding a little fragrance oil. I looked up the usage rate for this particular brand. This one is from Be Scented. It's cocoa butter cashmere, and it smells wonderful. I think the cocoa butter cashmere goes perfectly with this recipe. So I'm going to be adding 4% fragrance oil in here. But now for the real star of the show, our Isopropyl Myristate, and I hope I'm saying that right, is I'm going to be adding 3%. The way that I do it And I know there are a lot of people that do it different than me. I take the total volume and do 3% of this total volume. You can also, if you want to go back, because I already had the recipe, I didn't want to go and factor it in and take away from the butters to fit 3% in here so that including this, it added up to 100. I'm not that picky about it, so I'm doing 3% of the total volume, which is 8 ounces. So 3% of this is going to be 0.24 ounces or 7 grams of my isopropyl myristate. And we're going to go ahead and add that in here right now. And then the same with the fragrance oil. I'm adding on the total volume here. So that's how I figure my additives and things on top of, and it's a whole big subject. So if you do it differently, if you like to incorporate this into your total percentages, good for you, that's awesome. Run the numbers through your calculator and do what you need to do. But for me, this is what works. So here we go. It's got a little toggle lid. I'm hoping it'll pour out of there perfectly. And let's do our 7 grams going in here. There we go. We've got 7 grams in there, and now I'm going to add my fragrant oil. And I get asked a lot, you know, how much fragrant oil did you add? Well, I'm telling you today what I'm doing, but I really want to encourage you, even if you buy the same exact one I am using, look it up. Get used to looking up your fragrant oil and your essential oils. Each essential oil can have a different usage rate. And I think as a maker, it's really important for you to look up what you're doing and make sure you're within the range of where you're supposed to be. It's kind of important. So there's that. All right, so for me, I'm going to be adding 4% fragrance oil. The range was really, really vast, from body butters and body lotions down to baby lotions. Was huge difference. For a baby lotion, it's under 1%. For a body lotion, it was 19%, which I thought is ridiculously high. So I chose 4% because I don't like to over-fragrance things. So here we go. I am going to be adding 0.32 ounces or 9 grams of fragrance oil for what I'm making today. All right, and that's it. That's all we're going to add in here. I was tempted to come in with my arrowroot powder on top, but I really want to give this isopropyl myristate a test run on its own without adding any other anti-greasy ingredients. You could use a tapioca starch, arrowroot powder. Some people have even added a touch of clay in here, like a kaolin. You could do those things, but I really wanted to see how that affected the feel of this on its own. So that's what we're doing. And now, the next step is I'm going to pour it in my big container here. I wanted something wide mouth on the bottom for whipping it up. And we're going to let it cool in here. This pouring it will help it cool down. And this is going to be our cool down time. What I like to do with my cool down here is I have a refrigerator off to the side of my studio, and I'm going to go pop this in the refrigerator and walk away for a while and let it just start to firm up. I don't, it's not important that you have it cool down slowly or anything like that. As long as it's well and incorporated, everything has been well blended, which obviously it is. I'm going to put this in the fridge and let it cool. You could just leave it out. My soap studio is very cool, and so this would, you know, harden up on its own, but that takes a while and I get impatient. So this is going in the fridge for a little bit, maybe 20 minutes, and then we'll be back for the first whip and check it. And I just kind of go like that, 15 to 20 minutes, whip it, check it, put it back in, that sort of routine. So that's where we're at. All right, just checking in. It's been about 20 minutes and you can see it starting to thicken up on the side. So I just want to knock that down. There it is, starting to cool. And give it a little mix with my blender. It's not going to whip it all. It's still too liquidy, but it's, you know, it's nice to get those chunks mixed in as we go here. So I'm not even going to do it on high. I'm just trying to blend it all together. Plus this helps cool it down a little bit too. All right, and now back to the refrigerator. All right, it's been another 10 minutes and you can see we are coming along. So let's give this a whip and see if it has any structure to it and if it'll hold the whip. That's what we're looking for. I'm looking for it to be cool enough where it's going to hold the volume I'm blending in, the air. All right, so let me stop here and we'll talk about this for a second. This looks beautiful. It's nice and stiff, it's not moving. I would definitely call this ready to pipe into your bags if you wanted to, but it's just a little smooth. I want it a little bit higher of a fluff, so I'm gonna put this back in the fridge for another, gosh, maybe 5 minutes. It's gonna go quick now that it's cooled. Knock down the sides here. And then we'll come back and give it a final whip to try and incorporate as much air as I can to keep it nice and fluffy. All right, I think we are ready to do our final whip on here. It smells so nice and it looks so appealing. I just really love everything about this. Looks great. All right, let me take the spatula here and go around the sides and make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, there's a little bit on the bottom that didn't get whipped, so I want to make sure I get that lifted up and then whip it so that there's no like chunky bits in here. It looks absolutely perfect. Now, the thing with whipping is I could keep going here, maybe incorporate a little more air, but if you over whip it, it will start to build up a heat mass from the whisks. And then once it starts to warm again, it'll collapse. So it's one of those balance things. If that happens, just throw it back in the fridge or let it cool off again and then get back to whipping it. But you can over whip, you know, where it will get warmed up again. So, you know, there's a little bit of a balance going on. And now I'm going to put this in a piping bag. I don't have a tip on here. I'm just going to snip the end of this, but I wanted to pipe it in my jars for ease of getting it in here. I'm using these little 4-ounce jars with black lids. I love these. They're lightweight. It's a single wall, so it's not insulated, but this is good for the fall, the winter, cool temperatures. These are great. So I'm going to fill these up. Let's see how many I can get. But first, we've got to get our wonderful whipped butter down into my piping bag. Oh, this just feels so just luscious. It's almost like ice cream. That's what it feels like. All right, so I have my little wooden spatula. It just has a nice flat edge on it. It's not too sharp, and I can use it to push the product forward, whether it's soap frosting or body butter. It works great. So I'm just gonna take my scissors and snip off the tip here. Yeah, about that much. Not an exact science. And then find the flat edge and push my body butter down. It's a little stiff, but that's all right. We wanted that. There we go. So this right now is the consistency. I would say it's a little bit stiffer than a buttercream frosting, but similar to that. That's kind of what it feels like. All right, when I get down to that last little bit there, I like to open the bag up and take my handy spatula, and that way, look at how wonderful and clean you get all that, You don't want to waste a single bit of this goodness. So I can get it all pushed down in here. And that's quite a bit that I just got. So handy spatula, any sort of a ruler, anything with a nice straight edge would work for this. All right, I'm going to slide these off to the side and do a product demo, which I'm so excited to do. This is the true test. I have not tried this with the Isopropyl Myristate yet, so this is my first time doing that. Again, it's just a gorgeous consistency. It's nice and thick. It's holding structure. Absolutely decadent feeling. Let's get that rubbed in. It's, wow, super thick. That, my little dollop there. So again, a little bit is going to go a long way, which I love. So these little 4-ounce containers, they might look tiny, but they're mighty. It's got the shine. Again, this is full butter and oil. That's what's in here. So if you are looking for something really fast absorbing and lightweight on the skin, body butter is not your jam. This is for the person who wants a deep moisturizing, like really luxurious, moisture. That's what you're going for. It feels fabulous. I'm trying to decide. It's been a little while since I made body butter with the arrowroot powder. This maybe feels, it's a little glidier. I will say that. I feel like it does have like an emollient feel. It doesn't drag on the skin or skip. It really goes smooth. I do love that. I have a girlfriend that uses body butter to shave her legs, and she says she gets the best shave ever. So she will slather this on and then do the razor. Haven't tried it yet. If you are a body butter shaver, let me know. She swears by it, says it is divine. So yeah, it's soaking in. I love how this feels. Deeply moisturizing, but yeah, it doesn't have, like, without the arrowroot or the Isopropyl Myristate, this would probably be sitting more on the surface, have a little bit more shine, be a little thicker, like skippy feeling. But this is absolutely glidey. It's great on the cuticles. I'm rubbing it in here. Boy, this feels wonderful. You know what? If you're needing some deep moisture, I think this would do you right. I am loving it. So what I have to do now is go print up some labels, and we'll come back and talk about labeling our body butter. All right, we are back with labels, and let me show you what I'm using right now. These are 1.5 by 5-inch labels. Here is the label number. This is where I got them. I'm not affiliated with online labels. I buy these on my own. Sometimes they send out coupons. I will use coupons when I can get them. But this is the label I'm doing in the craft paper. And here is what they look like printed out. I bought this label design on Etsy. So I suggest, if you are like me and label design is not your strong suit, go over to Etsy. There are some wonderful designers over there, and I appreciate their work, and I'm willing to pay for it. So that's where I got this label design. So I have what this is. It's a body butter, the scent notes, some special features, how much it weighs. There's my information. And over here are the ingredients in descending order from greatest to least. That's how I do my body butter and lotion labels. And these 1.5 by 5-inch labels fit on so many different jars. I have loved these. They fit on the 4-ounce, the 8-ounce, the big jars. They're just a wonderful all-around label. So I love this label. And I'm going to show you a little pro tip. Okay, the first pro tip is, if you've seen me do this before, is my little spatulas to hold my round containers from rolling around. Look how thick this is, by the way. You cannot shake this out. Absolutely glorious. So let me get the lid on here. And my next pro tip, though, and I have been doing this for a while, and I forgot to show you all, because this craft label is not super sticky. Once in a while, it can lift. So I just bought myself some glue sticks, and I will peel this label up, and I'll show you, and I'll put just a touch of glue stick on the ends, and that holds it down perfectly. So yeah, this is a little pro tip. If your labels aren't sticking, get a glue stick. It helps a lot. And also, if you're going to shrink band this, that will help hold your label on really well also. But I'm using the craft labels are kind of notorious for not being really sticky, so glue stick is my tool. So let's do that. I will show you how I do that. So just hold it with the sticky side up and a little bit on each side, doesn't take much. And there you go. Now I'm going to go ahead and stick this. And it'll hold down perfectly. And there it is. Love it. I hope you give this a try. And if you're familiar with Isopropyl Myristate and have been enjoying it, let us know down below. I'm loving it. This feels, I tell you what, my hands feel like silk. It's wonderful. So I am delighted with how this came out today, and I hope you give the recipe a try. Body butters are so luxurious. I really love it. Yeah. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.